Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of Fat Chat. We got a big, fat, extra juicy episode today. I've got two great guests on. One plays for the Blues, one plays for the D's. Please welcome Blake Acres and Luke Dunstan. Boys, welcome to Fat Chat.
Thanks for having me, mate. Second podcast with you.
Second pod. It's changed names since we've done the first one.
Yeah, not Potty Madge anymore.
Not Potty Madge anymore. Thanks very much, Luke, for coming on down.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Mate, it's going to be good. So you guys, if anybody that maybe doesn't know the relationship between you guys, so how do you guys know each other? A bit random that I've got a Carlton player and a Melbourne player on the podcast same time.
It's a long history. Anytime I get the chance, I'm happy to say this. I was picked 18 in the draft. I think Blake was picked 19. He had me, obviously athleticism-wise, but football ability-wise, I still think I've got him. But
and good bloke as well. Yeah, definitely on the good bloke.
Games played, he's going to go straight past me.
Yeah. Nice. So that was, what year for Saints was that for that draft?
End of 2013.
Yep.
Yeah, Spook was a bit of a grown man when he was drafted. I was still that skinny, lanky kid, so
needed a few body match sessions.
Some more body
Pimples
match
on the chin and eating Red Rock Deli chips flat out.
Yeah, were you really, Sheriff?
Didn't have the professionalism like I do now. But we got drafted together and moved into a host family in Seaford together, and sort of from the start we were sort of together. And
from Saints days, yeah.
Saints days, yeah. Then in and out, we moved out together to different places, and then we moved back in at one stage, and done a bit together.
Unreal. So was it just you two in the host family? Was there someone else as well?
No, it was just us two.
Just you two?
So,
yeah.
We were sort of we were both coming from interstate. I was from SA and Blake was from WA. So, we sort of got thrown in together and we pretty much did everything together from the start.
Yep.
And then, after a few months of complaining, I was lucky enough to be playing games and Blake wasn't at that point. So
beautiful.
They let me move out and he had to stay for another
No.
months.
I didn't mind it. They were nice people. So good family.
Wow.
Ended up moving in with Tommy Lee. So that was all right.
There you go. And then from the Saints days, have you got any, because you must have spent obviously a lot of time together, you got any good stories on each other?
Mate, plenty of stories.
that can be told on Fat Chat.
What you wanted us to talk about? What stories?
Have you got anything about maybe on the field stuff? Like, was there any games that you played together that one of you's done something that's, you have to pull?
I told you his first game when he debuted, night before the game, I wasn't playing obviously, but he's cooking up his mum's spaghetti or pasta or something that he
does every game.
They used to do back then, but he's making up the sauce and he absolutely butchered the sauce. Ended up having it with tomato sauce and spaghetti. So, but to be fair, he played really well.
That's a secret.
He got the rising star on that game.
Really, first game.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a positive story.
Very good.
We actually played Melbourne, funnily enough.
Yeah, right.
We were both towards the bottom of the ladder at that stage, and we were lucky enough to get the win. And I got a few kicks. Maybe I should have kept going with the spaghetti and tomato.
You should have, I reckon. Sounds like it's an absolute winner. Yeah. And then for at the moment now, so you guys are at Carlton, at Melbourne. How's the season's going for you? You know, both personally in terms of your own preparation and your bodies and all that sort of thing.
Mine's gone all right this year. I've only
one of the most consistent players going around.
I only missed the one game this year with the suspension.
Yeah.
I think I'll still stiff on that one. Everyone,
of course,
everyone
not guilty.
Carlton's got off now except for me. So, obviously the team's up winning at the moment, but I think we're doing a lot right and just trying to kick straighter at the scoreboard really, and then hopefully start banking some wins up. Absolutely.
And Luke, how are you going? You're injured at the moment.
Yeah, I've been a little bit up and down. I got injured right towards the end of pre-season when the pre-season matches started. I did my hammy. It was the first one I've ever had in my career, and then got back and played for I think 4 or 5 rounds in the VFL. Was playing some reasonable footy, and then did my medial. So I've missed the last 5 I think with that.
Yep.
So hopefully be back soon. But I've not playing footy myself for the first time sort of during the season. It's given me the chance to watch other games and watch some boys that obviously I know from Saints and obviously Blake at Carlton.
Yep.
It's really good to see him going well and playing some consistent footy. It's taken him 10 years, but he's
he's finally there.
He's finally gotten there, and it's good to see. So
that is good. So let's just sort of paint a little bit of a picture for anybody that maybe doesn't know you guys just yet. Let's kind of go right back, like junior days. Who got you into footy, Luke, to start off with? Is your family really, sporty, athletic?
I wouldn't say my family are, but I think it was just where I grew up. Everyone played footy and
Yep. South Australia, right?
yeah. I was from a country town about 2 hours north. And yeah, sort of everyone just played footy and cricket. I started probably when I was about 4 or 5, running around, and it's just what everyone did. So I did it too. I was probably gifted with the most height and strength and whatever out of my family. So I don't know where it came from. But
Yeah, right. And did you like develop pretty early? Sounds like you did. Draft sounds like you're an absolute beast already.
He was playing. I think you were playing seniors at like 15 or something.
Yeah, I was a bit of a man child. I was able to
fucking hate those. Hey, they're always that annoying. Holy shit.
He was the strongest bloke when he got drafted at the club.
I think back in the under 14s was the last year of playing junior footy at my local club. We won every game, won the flag, and I think I kicked 116 goals, 70 out of the midfield. So
Beautiful.
I was
116. Oh my God.
A bit of a man child, and it's all been slowly downhill from there.
That's pretty awesome, mate. Holy shit. And Blake, what about you?
Yeah.
Early days, juniors, where'd you grow up?
I was in a little city just outside the city, Edgewater.
Yep.
Still dominated juniors, didn't you?
Yeah, I played up an age group for the first 4 or 5 years with my brother, and then dropped back to my own age group, and then that's when I started playing some good footy.
Was your brother any good as well?
Yeah, he's pretty good. Still plays like Amos and plays in the state WA team.
Yep.
For the country league there. And
Yeah, right.
yeah, I was lucky.
I'm pumped. Your brother's got to mention this.
Yeah.
Stoked, yeah. I was injured my draft year, so I didn't get that chance to kick 110 goals or whatever it is. I was sort of played I think 5 games my draft year, and lucky enough played well enough, and then got a look in at the Saints.
Yeah, great. And then when you kicked that 116 goals, that was your draft year? Like that was like...
no, sorry, I was 14 then.
Yep.
But yeah, continued. I played...
Because you'd be going number 1 draft pick if you kicked 116.
Yeah, that would have been a good effort. Yeah. No, I played 16s. I think when I was under 16s, I played Sandful, so that's like the Waffle League. I was lucky enough, I think, to play the last 3 games of the year as a 17-year-old going into finals.
Yep.
I think we finished top, so we had the week off with a bye, and then that week of training, I did my syndesmosis, so I didn't actually get to play the finals, which would have been cool, but that was the end of it, and then went into the system the next year.
Yep. And then actually meeting each other for, your drafts and all that. So how did that come about? So like, what was the testing like? Did you come over here? Was it in each state? How did it work?
We didn't really know. We didn't know each other, did we, before?
We didn't speak to each other at the combine, but when we got drafted, we both got put up in the same hotel, and I remember we went to, like, both our families had flown in.
Yep.
And then went to the joint called the Tudor Inn.
The Tudor
I still remember. I drive past it every day.
Really?
We went in there and...
It's in Melbourne.
And we picked a horror to go to.
A couple of palmies, and then next minute we're both in the pokies area, just going for it. Hadn't been paid yet either, so I had no cash.
Mum, please pay for the pokies.
So that was fun, and then we had our first... We were in Colorado 3 days later or something, doing a preseason
Doing
camp.
the camp, yep.
But yeah, completely different end of the spectrum back then. I was like really unprofessional, didn't really know much about being an AFL footballer, and sort of Spook, he sort of had known that playing, I reckon, seniors, you probably had that bit more of a understanding.
Yep.
So I probably took off him and he gave me. So.
I was going to say, do you reckon you actually like learned quite a bit off him early days because you were around each other all the time?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
More about work ethic and hard work and what it takes to be an AFL footballer, because he was playing and I wasn't, so it was sort of like
I was pretty strict with the diet back then. I was quite serious.
What were you doing? Tell me. I'm real interested with all that stuff.
I got to the point in my draft year, I remember hearing my manager was the same manager as Dusty Martin, and he was my favourite player.
Yeah.
When I was 17, and I remember him saying to me on the phone one day that Dusty got his skin folds down because he stopped having butter on his toast. And I went as far as to, I literally stopped having butter on my toast.
Great.
So yeah, I was quite into it, and I was lucky coming from a family, like mum was a really good cook, so it was sort of easy for me to eat well.
Yep.
And I captained the state team in 17s and 18s. So I was quite serious about it all back then. I've probably gone a little bit the other way now and loosened up. But yeah, back when I was 18, I probably taught him a thing or two about diet. And yeah, he's probably loosened me up a little bit as well.
For sure. And then was there, you just said Dusty Martin.
The reason you're not playing anymore.
It's all your fault.
I'm the reason you've gone backwards.
I'm having to pin it on you, mate.
And then you mentioned that like you were modelling some stuff on like, Dusty Martin, who's your favourite player. Was there anyone at Saints that you were sort of learning off like early days? Who were the big dogs when you first got drafted?
We still had, Rui was still there.
Yeah.
He was close. I was close with Farron Ray.
Yeah.
And he was like a winger. And then
Clint Jones as well.
Clint Jones, I lived with him for a bit. He had this 2 sausage dogs.
Yes,
So I got into the sausage dogs after that.
Yeah.
But Luke probably had the best one of them all in Lenny Hayes. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like
worked
the
quite
pinnacle.
closely with Lenny. We were playing in the same position or whatever, so that sort of made it easy. And
So he was still playing at that point, Lenny Hayes?
yeah, he was in his last year.
Yeah.
And I think they'd sort of begged him to play on for one more, which, yeah, thankful that they did. And I was able to learn a lot off him. He was so giving of his time. Literally anything I asked for and wanted, he'd be there for me and doing it. Doing tape, touch every day, everything. So, yeah, it was awesome to learn from him. And then at the end of that first season, I was lucky enough for him to pass down the number 7 to me. So
then I
probably
went,
didn't go as planned for the footy club. They had higher hopes for it, but they were some big shoes to fill. So obviously,
sure.
not sure I quite feel the big toe, but
he took the 7, then I seen the number 8 open up and I thought I'd get next to him in the locker room. So
Yeah, beautiful.
yeah,
still got me.
Locker room buddies.
couldn't get away from you.
Yeah. And Blake, yourself, was there anyone else that so Farron Ray was someone that you were working closely with?
Yeah, well, he was playing. I was sort of looking at playing the wing early on, and then Farron was just really good for me. Sort of mentored me, sort of around the off-field stuff, and
Yep.
similar to what Luke was trying to do as well, I reckon. But I tried to talk to most players back then. We had a lot of experienced players, like Dave Armitage as well was probably one that looked after probably me and Luke.
Yep.
And we'll early stages, he used to get around for dinner all the time and just chat the fat.
Yep.
They had some good players that Saints team. Accomplished a lot, but obviously didn't get the flag they wanted.
Yeah, for sure. And was there like any moments where, you were working with any of the older guys that maybe there was like a time where you're like, oh, fuck, you hell, embarrass yourself at training, or they really like taught you a lesson or anything like that? Was there any good ones?
Every time you had a kick with Rui.
The easy one to say is Rui, because his body was pretty cooked at that stage, and obviously you're kicking a Nick Rewell, you look up and you shit yourself, and you fucking tense up, and then neither of us were great kicks as it was, but we'd spray one or miss him or kick one of his ankles, and he
wasn't moving.
He'd literally keep running and not even bother bending over. So
retrieve your own ball. Most embarrassing thing.
Retrieve your own
it was frightening. Yeah,
He got better towards. He got he lined up a bit towards the end. His last couple of years, he really we're still pretty close mates. Like not close mates with him, but we still chat to him every now and again.
Yep.
More around
and yeah, if we were to talk about like learning off anyone, learning about his professionalism and the way he went about
Just a
his
gun.
every day,
Yep.
like, unbelievable. I think he sort of had to, because he was looking after his body and it was pretty cooked. He had no cartilage and stuff in his knees, so to get up each week, he was doing everything he could. But yeah, to see how much time he put in during the week for obviously to come out on the weekend, he would have been the one that we learnt the most off.
Definitely. And then your first game, you come out absolutely blitzed it. Tell us about the first game for both of you, how they kind of come about, and what are your memories from the game?
I reckon he had 20 touches or something in one goal.
Yeah, I laid,
Pretty good?
Yeah, I laid a few
Something
tackles.
like that.
Pretty good.
Yeah, he had a good game.
It was a close game. I think we only won by.
How did you find out about it?
So-
Was that like a big build up for you, or was it kind of like you expected? Was that like round 1, or when was that?
So I think
Yeah,
it
round
was,
1. It was the first game of the year.
it was back. Yeah. I think it was back when they still had maybe 3 practice games, and I was lucky enough to play in a couple of them. And then, yeah, I don't really remember the build up so much, but I do. I remember being out there in the first quarter and like headless chook.
Yeah.
I haven't like felt obviously anywhere near that in a game before, but I was like
What
amped
the
up.
fuck's going on?
And I think there was probably still only 20,000 there, so it wouldn't have been.
Yeah, it wasn't the
a big
biggest
crowd.
Well, I think we won 4 games for the year. Won our first 2 for that year season, and
Great.
we ended up winning 4 for the year and Wooden Spoon.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's when the Sheriff got his
so
debut.
It was a long year after
Long
that.
year.
Yeah.
Well-
And that's when we got the number 1 pick and took Paddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Paddy.
he's unfortunately hasn't panned out very well for the big fella. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember heaps. I remember a few things during the game, a couple of moments. But yeah, it's more just like your head spinning. So
Of course, you're just taking it all in, and there's so much going on. I imagine. And Blake, first game.
Mine was an absolute stinker. We lost by
That's right.
we lost by 147 to Hawthorn.
And that was when the decline of St Kilda happened. When
That was
Blake got
declining then already. But yeah, 147 or something. Raining. Started on the wing. I can't remember who, but I was getting absolutely torched. I remember my first kick, I burnt Rui. Should have just fed back to him. He would have kicked the goal, and I just snapped it over my head.
Oh, no.
And I was dribbling in for a goal, and Clint Jones touched it over the line.
Oh, come on,
loyalty
Clint.
from the
Nah,
house,
none. So, it was a bit not as good as a start to Luke's my career as the Luke's. And remember on the 2 days later, we're doing this big tackle drills and smoking each other and training because we got smoke. So good fun early on, but you learn a lot from those ones.
Yeah, definitely. And then you guys were obviously, you were living together, you're locker buddies, you draft the same, spending so much time. Is there any other games that you played together that were like great moments in games? Did you link up, hell good in any of them?
Maybe
Good
running around
wins.
at Sandy, we probably linked up.
We had one game.
We had a couple.
We were 0-11 at Sandy, worse than Port Melbourne, who were 11-0. And
Yeah.
me and Spook, I think I might have been coming back from injury, or he was, and one of us got dropped. So we somehow met at VFL one week, and 11-0 Port versus 0-11 Sandy, and we ended up beating them by like 40 points or something. And we had a pretty good day, I reckon.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we played with each other, we always try to look after each other and if someone was there,
We
just
definitely had chemistry.
we always give each other.
If we
a little
linked up
one.
now, it'd be through. It'd be off the chart.
But yeah, it's good having like guys like that out in the field with you.
Definitely.
You sort of know you're going to get your couple easy touches off them sometimes if you're struggling.
Yep.
Especially early on when you're sort of deer in the headlights out there.
Yeah, of course. And then, like, since then, obviously, Saints, you've moved over to Melbourne. You've gone to played for every fucking team except for the new Tasmania one almost. And now
We'll get there.
We'll get there. How did the moves come about for you, the most recent one? So for Melbourne, and then we'll talk Blake's after.
Yeah, so it was this is my second year at Melbourne now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't say it was the Cinderella. Is that the movie? Cinderella ending it.
That works.
the
Yep,
Saints.
that works.
So yeah, that sort of finished up, and then there was not a heap of interest. I spoke to a couple of clubs and was sort of more hoping more than anything. And
was it through like injury or anything, or was it just that like
no
form? Or
form was really good. I'd been playing in the twos. I think I missed the year before with injury.
Yeah.
I tore my pec and missed the whole COVID year. And then 21, I knew we'd recruited a couple of players in my position. Like we got Brad Crouch from Adelaide and I think maybe one other. So I knew like spots-wise I was going to be up against it. And I was sort of just lucky enough that there ended up being a few injuries. Guys were out of form and playing shit, so they were sort of left with no choice but to play me. I came in and played actually really well. I think I played 11 or 12 games and polled 11 or 12 Brownlow votes at the back end of the year. So that definitely helped. And then, I was lucky enough that Melbourne was still actually playing, and then I hadn't even thought about him as an option. And then they played the grand final, and then literally a few days later, they called and were keen to have a chat, and it all happened pretty quick.
Yeah,
So
great.
it's been awesome to, as we said, dark days early, sort of coming in every Monday after a loss, and
Yep.
footy world's pretty grim. But
Yep.
as I was saying to you just before as we met, coming in each week, it doesn't sort of change whether it's a win or a loss. It's just about the process.
Yeah, for sure. Which is a way better environment to come on in and perform and work in if you're not having the actual just the wondering what the performance was on the weekend being dictated by it all.
Yeah. So it's been really cool to experience that side of it as opposed to what I was used to. So
Yep.
it's been really good.
And was it tough to make that decision, or was it pretty it sounds like you were kind of like already leaning that way, or?
No, it was pretty easy. And ideal world, I didn't really want to leave Melbourne either.
Yep.
So that sort of made the mind up pretty quickly for me. And I sort of knew that I would need a similar situation, like I would need injuries. But the Melbourne midfield over the last couple of years is, obviously we all know the talent in
Stacked,
it. But they don't miss games either. So I think the only time someone's missed has been Clary
Yep.
at the
You're
moment.
injured,
And I'm injured. So
Yeah,
hasn't panned out that well.
And then Blake, how did it all go the end of last year for you, moving from Freo to Carlton?
I remember it was tough when you left the Saints.
Yeah, the Saints one was that was a
hardest
tough
one.
one.
Yeah.
I had these boys come over and we had a good chat about like this sort of the option because I still had a year on my deal at the Saints. So
Because you got traded that one, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. But I could have chose to stay, but sort of these guys sort of also like seen it a good option to move to Freo at the time.
Yeah.
It was tough. I think you obviously you made the best choice. I think obviously for your career, but I remember he called us and I've never heard his voice tremor on the phone, and like he was borderline tears, and I could sense something was wrong. I'm like, oh fuck, this can't be good.
Yeah.
And never heard him
Yeah, it
get
was
too
like- it was
upset
like-
before. So we raced down there. I think there was a group of us, maybe 3 or 4 of us that raced around there, and
I think the thing when you move clubs, you just don't want to let your mate, like more so your
scary,
mates.
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
like the hardest part.
And it wasn't like for, because there wasn't any falling outs, wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just that, just for
you came out
opportunity.
of the blue as well. Like
Yeah, it was like the day before the deadline or something. But
Yep.
and I was sort of had to pack up and fly over to Perth at the time and get there and back. But
Yep.
and it's always a daunting thing. You don't know anyone.
Nah.
Of course.
There's obviously a lot of what ifs. So
that's what made this like doing it once. It's pretty cruisy.
Yeah.
So like
you know what to expect with all that.
So that was like sort of have the option to come back here and sort of link up with a few mates again. And option footy wise it's a good fit for me playing on the wing at Carlton. So
absolutely chopping it too.
And knowing like sort of what it takes now. I sort of struggled a bit when I first moved to Freo, just with the transition side of it, like new system and COVID that year as well, and a few injuries. But I reckon what I learnt from like when I first moved to Freo, like taking that to Carlton and being able to sort of fit in and make sure my body sort of stands up, because I think change of
programs,
fitness coaches. That's what
environment.
That's what probably gets you, I reckon, the most when you move clubs, which was good because I knew that. So when I got to Carlton, I sort of had a good chat with their fitness guy there and their head of S&C and mapped up a really good plan. And touch wood, hopefully no injuries.
Unreal. And been loving the move, obviously.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to win some games.
Yeah.
I got a taste of finals last year at Freo and
pretty good.
Yeah, they were fun, and that win we had against the Doggies was unreal.
That was pumping. That was one of the best games I've ever been to.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
But like, the Carlton crowds are crazy. Like,
well, you're playing in front of,
big games,
Freos, like at max,
Played
probably 50,000-ish.
Yeah.
Now you're
forgotten what Sunday games are.
exactly. No Sundays. Yeah,
and if we do
time.
play Sundays, it's 80,000 against Collingwood.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
But yeah, the Carlton fans are very passionate, I've learnt already. And they can, you could be getting cheered 1 minute, then getting sort of booed the next minute. I can see, their frustration, and I know we're frustrated as a group as well. But I know we're doing a lot right. We just got to start banking some wins now.
All right, so boys. So Blake, you're one of the most informed players in the whole competition right now, and Luke, sounds like from all your work throughout all your career so far. Yeah. Well, you're injured. You would be otherwise, but it sounds like you're an absolute pro when it comes to your preparation and working on things. So I kind of want to go into that a little bit. So let's start with Blake. So Blake, what have you kind of done the last probably 2 years where it's really taken off for you and been super consistent, differently from the last few years in terms of your skill, your preparation, physically? What have you been doing with your training, diet, all that sort of thing?
I think once I got to Freo, there was like I had a good deal going there where it was like I'll just play one role, which I sort of didn't get that at the Saints. I didn't get that sort of luck just to be able to just settle into one spot and just understand that. So I was doing a lot of things at the Saints when I was there, but so just learning my role inside and out, making it my own really.
Yep.
And then making sure there's things within that I bring every week, which is around like my run, how I execute on Team D, sort of things that I feel like I'm good at now, my communication out in the field. And then on top of that,
do you reckon that's just been from experience? That's why that's
I think now I just bank off that now, sort of know that's what I'm going to bring every week.
Yep.
So my patterns will always be the same.
You kind of get a good picture of what good game.
I know what a game looks like now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know like where my bot, like a bad game for me would be where I'm at. Like I don't know what it looks like, but I will know like that's not as low what it used to be.
Yep.
Just because of
You
how
just brought your
I
baseline
play.
up.
My
Yeah,
baseline's up, and then but a difference between a good game and a great game for me is how I execute by foot and skill wise, to be honest. And
How many moon bowls on?
how many
Not moon bowls he puts up.
So yeah, that's it. I just got to keep working. That's my sort of when I look back at and review my games, it's all about how I'm finishing my work, and
Yep.
that's probably my biggest letdown to the footballer at the moment. It's just how I finish my work and whether or not I'm hitting targets by foot, and
Yep.
so making sure I stick strong to that and always doing the work during the week on that.
So on that, what sort of reps are you actually doing in a week to improve on that? Is it something, mentally in terms of coming up to a game? Are you working on anything? Are you doing any sports psych stuff?
Yeah.
Is it really just from reps that you're putting in at training? Are you doing any extra skill work, that sort of thing?
Bit of everything. I had a game a couple of weeks ago where every kick I did, like it'd be like a quick kick from stoppage, it would just get marked by the opposition. Like I don't know how it'd have every kick would just come off and go land on their lap.
Yep.
And I was hearing the boos, and that sort of got in my head a bit there. So I started doing a lot more sports psych.
Yep.
About a month ago, chatting to the sports psych at the club there, and just making sure I'm not focusing too much on that side of the game.
Yep.
I've got to always come back to what I'm good at, which is what I know, my run, my roll, and just building my game off that, and then not worrying about the execution when I'm out there.
Yep.
So, and more so, I'll do the work during the week on that. So on foot skills, I'll do that. If I'm feeling like good from a game, I'll do a lot more kicks that week.
Yep.
And then working with guys at the club on that sort of stuff. But it always comes back to what I'm good at in the lead up to a game. So I always try, like early on in the week, I'll review, I'll learn, I'll improve, and then I go to sort of more team focus now. Then I'll go individual focus. Then I play.
Yep. Yep.
So that's sort of my sort of set structure now for a week going into a game.
And Luke, so at the end of like an AFL season, you guys will have like an exit meeting. So you meet up with all your coaches and strength and conditioning coaches and that sort of thing. Was there anything that you were told to work on, maybe even from the last couple of seasons? And then what sort of reps and work were you doing in the off season to sort of bring your level up what they needed you to be?
Wasn't so much that I got feedback I needed to improve things. I think they were quite happy at the end of the season with the footy I'd played throughout the year.
Yep.
And as I said, like it was a little bit just around opportunity, and I didn't get the chance to come in and perform.
Because you won a flag in the VFL as well.
Yeah. We had an unbelievable team for VFL standard. Like there was probably 10 guys that were running around that could have played in an AFL team.
Which is what makes an AFL team successful when you got all that depth as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, the ones were lucky, like the boys were just stiff. They didn't have many injuries across most positions, so there wasn't a lot of change in the team. But for me, like week to week, it's just around making sure my body in that 2 days leading into the game, I'm getting it spot on. So for me, I just get quite tight around sort of glute, TFL, quad area. So I'll sit there for, half an hour, 45 minutes a night leading into the game or the day before the game. Just smashing like glute ball and releasing everything.
Yep.
Obviously trying to get enough treatment as well, doing the hot colds. So I like to go into a game just mentally knowing I've done everything to feel good. And
How long have you had that sort of schedule for?
It's probably been really consistent for maybe the last 3 or 4 years. I started to figure it out and what I actually needed, and then just got diligent with it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I remember we're at I reckon it was the day of the game. We're playing the Doggies, and we were middle of winter, Saints, really cold. And I remember we went out, jumped in the water at St Kilda Sea Bars, and there was a doggy player in the water as well. I reckon about 100 meters down from us.
Yeah,
I'm freezing. I'm in there for like 5 minutes. Like, mate, I'm going in the spa inside. He goes, nah, I'm staying out here till this bloke goes out.
Oh, you're joking.
In his little speedos, just sitting there with his arms crossed, staring at this doggy spa. I'm just in the spa, just like.
And who won? Who won the stare off?
I think he was last year.
You would have got him? Yeah.
I don't remember it.
It was
too fucking cold.
Just the warm up. Remember Lindsay Gilby ran out with our jerseys?
Oh, fuck yeah, that's right.
We had a game where we were just playing, pissing around out on the field before the game.
Yeah.
We missed the
team meeting, didn't we?
Yeah, we used to play this like footy golf out in the track before every game.
Yep.
and we got carried away with it. And then we're walking back in having a laugh.
Forgot there was a game on, yeah.
All the players ran out in their jerseys and we're just sitting there with our warm-up tops on, still walking in.
No.
Yeah, we missed the full inside warm-up.
Oh, fuck.
It's like doing all the fucking like prep, like A-skips, all that shit. And then handball, lane handball, tackle, everything. We missed
all of it.
And the boys are getting ready to run out and we were still in our warm-up tops.
Oh,
So I think we hit it.
Did you get in
pretty
trouble
well.
for that?
No, I think we disguised it pretty well in the end.
We got one of the coaches to run in who was pretty loyal to us to run in and grab our jerseys and then
sort of sneak
snuck
on in. Those A-skips were good, eh?
running with the group as they ran out with our warm-up jerseys tops on, and then I think we got the win that day.
Yeah,
That's unreal. So then for actual like habits leading into a game, so you've touched on some of them, just Luke, about your recovery and eating fucking tomato pasta before the game, that sort of thing. What's like your weekly or daily habits leading up to a game to make sure you can perform the best that you can?
I would say for anyone listening, I've probably relaxed on this a little bit, just given that I moved clubs in the last year or two, but the last sort of 2 or 3 years at the Saints, we had a sports psych named Emma Murray. She'd be a cracker to get on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because she's taken off a bit. She's too busy for me now.
Dusty's one.
Is she?
So she was at Richmond. I think might still be at Richmond, but does a heap of stuff with different athletes
With the
across
guns.
different sports. I think she was with the V8 supercar driver that left to go to the States. What his name was. He was dominating over here and and left. But
No idea.
No idea.
Is it Jamie Wincup?
We'll run with that.
Scott, yes, I think it's Scott. Yeah,
Good job, producer Dad.
yeah.
That's good work.
Producer
Good work.
Dad. But I worked really closely with her and worked on that side of my game, and she's amazing. She's an amazing woman with a pretty amazing story from her own family as well. So, I would recommend the biggest thing is to get that space right and learn about take the time to actually learn about what you need and what is good for you.
Yep.
And also looking at taking a bigger picture of what's actually bad for you as well and being able to decipher, okay, this is what I need to do and this is what I don't.
Mm-hmm.
A bit similar to what Blake said. It's like a clear picture of what's going to give you the best chance to play well.
Yep.
As opposed to playing a bad game.
Definitely.
Having someone to vent to as well, I reckon you would have been able to talk to her and
Yeah, massively. They listen.
Definitely.
But yeah, the whole visualization side of the things, like I'd never done it, and to be able
Actually,
to,
every single person that I've spoken to this whole week has said that they wish that they got into the visualization imagery stuff way sooner.
Yeah, it is. It's taken off.
she used to do record a meditation things for you, so you can listen to her talking to you.
Yep.
It's individualized to
It'll
your
be-
game.
Yeah,
so
great.
And you could
listen to it
visualize what
whenever.
she's talking about.
So what were some of the things that was like that? Can you remember specifically some of the
Yeah,
things?
so she sort of goes through your game and you lay there with your eyes shut and she'll talk to you in a so calming voice. It's the best thing ever.
You just love her, eh?
Yeah, I do love her, yeah. And she sort of makes you watch what you call your best self playing from your perspective through your own eyes. And you see, she's asks you what you did well when you were playing like that. And you sort of get 2 or 3 cues that you go off. And for me, it was just around being physical and aggressive with body work and then being on my toes around stoppage. And the rest would sort of come off the back of that. And then the next cue was just communication. So I'd play better when I was communicating and pointing
Yep.
to everyone around me. So, yeah, I got a really clear picture and working with her, she's just amazing.
That was awesome. Yeah, great. And Blake, for a pre-game stuff that you do leading up for the week, any habits that you do?
Probably, I'm a bad cramper in that in games.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this.
So,
you don't warm up, eh?
No warm-ups anymore since the doggies game. So I was always that was always playing on my mind going into games. Am I going to cramp in the third quarter? Am I going to be gassed? So I'd always try to save a bit for the end, so I wasn't cramping, but I'd always cramp.
You'd save a bit in the running sets.
And I always, early on,
pre-season.
I'd save him for the last rep.
He'd sit midfield for 7 reps, and then the 8th rep he'd win it by 100 metres.
Yeah.
The boys would hate it.
I got pulled up pretty quick with that. David T grabbed me one session and said, never do that again. Then I would win the first one, then I'd be last for the next 10. So
Back with me.
that worked. I wouldn't be that far back. So That was always something that stressed me out for games. So I needed to fix that, and I started hydrating 2 days out instead of a day out.
So how much water do you drink?
I just have a bottle with me all the time, so I don't know exactly how much, but I'm
just
consistently drinking water. And then
you hydrolytes and shit.
no, I don't drink any hydrolyte or anything anymore. Used to do a lot of that, like Powerade the night before a game, but I found like the sugar didn't help me sleep as well.
Yep.
So it's just pure water for like 2 days. Sort of eat pretty consistently, like day before a game and then day of a game.
Yep.
So eggs in the morning this is day of a game. I got eggs in the morning. If it's a later game, I'll have like chicken and rice at lunch, and then I always have pancakes like just before I go to a game.
So yeah,
So like,
you make them yourself?
yeah, at home I do when I'm at home games, but away games I get the
Nice.
hotel to make them for me.
Must be nice.
So it's my
How good's
little
that?
treat. And then I learned off Dave. When I was cramping, Dave was like, just don't do the warm up, because you do like 2 or 3 Ks warm up and that will save you. And then that's like sort of your last quarter there.
Yep.
Dave Mundy, and then.
And he was doing that for a long time, hey?
I think he was doing it 2 or 3 years when
Yeah.
he was sort of getting a bit
older.
Really?
Yeah, he was doing it for a while. So I used to just like, when the team would go warm up, I'll just go get a massage then, and just really just chill out. And I used to have him in the room so I could kick with him and have a handball with him.
Did the S&C staff kick up a stink about that? Because they're quite anal.
Well, Carlton have a set warm up out there,
Yep.
but I sort of said when I first got there, I'm not doing the warm up.
Yep.
Sort of like
This is just what works
my
for
thing
me.
now. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Sheriff doesn't warm up. You want a sheriff?
I've been starting games really. I've been starting games
Sheriff,
really well.
No.
But so I did that, and then one of the young kids who debuted this year, Lockie Cow, when he cramped at like half time in his first game, I said, don't do the warm up next week. So there you go, and hasn't cramped since. So
Yeah, right. There you go.
he does a little bit more of a warm up than me, but he'll come in and now have a kick with me and a handball, because I didn't have Dave Mundy there to
Yeah, of
kick
course.
with.
So now you've got
I've got
someone.
him, but he hasn't played last, so it's
passing the torch.
it's just me at the moment.
Less
doing
is
my own
more for the
warm-up.
sheriff. Less is
Yeah.
more.
Try to save me tickets, mate.
That's good, man. It's such a good tip. Like, it's just something that, even Luke's in there was like, oh, wow, hectic.
It's just,
So-
I feel like I do, like, I just still get going in the rooms before by myself and crank the tunes up and do a bit of ball work, but I don't need to be running much. I do 3 strides. You naturally just heat up from, like, the anxiety of playing a game.
Of course.
So I go out there, I do, like, 2 quick strides while everyone's, like, getting ready to do the stoppage work and that, and then I just chuck a vest on and do the centre bounce stuff with the crew, because I never do centre bounce work, so
Yep.
I'm just like a bib in there and they just push off me, and then
Yeah, great.
yeah, it's been pretty. I've been
That's
starting
good. It's been
games.
working.
If it was affecting how I started games, like I would have to change it.
But you start off good.
I feel like I started starting games off all right.
I think you had like 10 or something first quarter.
You get a bit lucky sometimes on the wing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can be out of it for a whole quarter, and then others
all
you
or
can
nothing,
have heaps. So
Yeah. And then day of the game or leading up for yourself, Luke, what do you do in terms of your daily habits?
So it was a couple of years ago. I stopped. I was always a pasta when I was younger. Night before,
Yep.
then I don't eat pasta at all anymore and went to risotto.
Yeah, right.
Because I wanted to carb up. It was just what everyone did. But I've totally scrapped that now, and I couldn't give a shit what I eat. But in terms of like, not from a health point of view, it's just I don't want a big heavy meal.
Yep.
So for quite a while last year, I was doing homemade chicken schnitzels with coleslaw and some roast potatoes.
Great.
Just a normal meal. So I was waking up feeling a bit heavy from eating so much, and then would struggle to get going.
Yep.
But yeah, day of the game, I'll just wake up, take the pooch for a walk, get a coffee, and then I'll normally try and, as I said, put aside 30, 45 minutes to stretch and sit on a tennis ball, and that's pretty much it. I don't have a massive hectic routine. The
yep.
day of the game, I just try not to think about it.
Yeah, great. And then for both of you personally, for the rest of the year, what's kind of your goals and focuses, and what sort of steps and reps that you're putting in place to get yourself back, whether that's talking about your injury, of course, Lou?
Yeah, I was throwing a curveball during the week because I did my medial about a month ago, and then didn't see on the first scan I did my PCO as well. So for 2 or 3 weeks I've been loading it thinking it was like tendinopathy, and I've just flared it right up.
Right.
So
Great.
it is pretty sore at the moment, but we're
Read
hoping,
the scan. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I hope the physio's not listening. They know that they're in trouble. But no, so now it's basically just about backing right off to give it a chance to settle down. So there's not much I can do. I'll take some antis and
And inflames.
Yep.
Any inflames, yeah.
And then whilst you're not training and able to run and all that sort of stuff, what are you doing like in the gym or extra sessions? Do you do upper body stuff? Do you do boxing? Do anything like different like that whilst you're injured?
Not at the moment. I swim a little bit.
Yep.
But
I've just been getting into swimming. It's fucking hard.
it is hard. I swam as a kid, so I mean, I'm not like, I feel like you either sink or swim.
Yep.
So I'm not too bad. So I find it okay. But,
Yep.
at the moment, I can still run. So really, I'm kind of doing more running than everyone else because they're worrying about a footy game. So I think Saturday is my main session. I think I've got about 11K on Saturday morning with 1,500 high speed. So that's
just
good
building
fun.
building it back up again.
So yeah. It was basically, it's the sprinting and the axel stuff that I can't do. So basically doing everything without doing that.
Yep.
And then hopefully that'll hold me instead, and by next week it'll settle down.
Yeah,
So-
great. And Sheriff,
Oh,
with like improvement of what you wanted to get out for the rest of the year personally?
just keep sticking to my role. I sort of know what I need to bring each week now. So just making sure I don't go away from that.
Yep.
Is my biggest thing, and then just keep working on my execution. Really.
Yep.
I just keep that that's always going to be there. I think so for most guys as well. But and then trying to stay positive, like because we're not winning at the moment. The whole footy world sort of
Comes
pulling
crashing
us out
down.
at the moment. So we're just trying to still like stay in the moment and just enjoy footy as well. Like
Yep.
Did Griff, just on that, did Griff speak about the footy world and how that's going for him?
Yeah, you touched on it a little bit, but it was more again just about what he's like been up to personally and how the change has been for him with all his training and all that
New
sort of thing.
misses
So
and that.
new misses and
New
that.
misses,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
exciting.
It is exciting for Griff. I'm happy for Griff. That's and if you're sort of reflecting back on everything that you've done for both of you for your careers thus far, is there anything that you would have done a little bit differently? Like if you could just go back to it and just change it, no regrets, because like, we don't have any regrets, get that. But if you could just change one little thing that you think, fuck, that would have been good if I went left rather than right.
It's hard to pinpoint one.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be a few things I'd change, but I mean, it's been a pretty fun,
it's been fun. We've had a great time.
awesome.
It's been a good 10 years.
Oh yeah,
We've
Sheriff has fun.
Travelled the world and that together. So
We've had some great trips away. From a footy sense, I don't know. Maybe just not letting it. I think for a fair while, I was. That's my phone. Sorry. I was letting performance and selection dictate literally my whole week.
Yeah,
and
your
life.
mood wasn't that?
Yeah.
And I was a fuckwit.
Cranky.
I'd get dropped and I'd be a fucking prick and talk to no one. And,
Kill everyone at training.
Yeah.
It came. I didn't really ever explain to him, but it came from like a sense of embarrassment that I'd never had to deal with.
Of
As I
course.
said, like
Yep.
I was a man child and I was the best in every team.
Yep.
So when it finally got to the point where like, oh, you're not good enough, I really actually did. I just didn't know how to deal with it. Whereas I think now that I've been through that, it's a good learning. To then go to Melbourne, where I'm obviously not playing. It's good being in an environment where I think everyone's really happy to see other people succeed.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy that, and that would be probably the main thing I would say.
Absolutely. And Sheriff?
Oh, mate, if I could play, I think when I was at the Saints, I started every game on the bench. So
Yeah.
I never played big minutes there. So that would have been one if that wasn't me. If
To
I
just
was,
get put
if
in
I was
one-
them.
To get put in one spot.
Look how good I am now. You should have been putting me in.
You got thrown. You were in the second ruck. Like he was all over the shop.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and I'd play like 60% game time, and I'd have guys getting concussion tests, play more minutes than me in a game. Like,
Yep.
and then I'll get put on the last quarter and go
Go run
crazy,
around.
go
Yeah.
bananas in the last quarter. But so yeah, probably that's probably the biggest thing. And I wish we won some more games that made the finals at the Saints. We missed out on by percentage one year, and
Yep.
Robbie Gray kicked some freakish goal in Port Adelaide,
Kicked you out. Yeah.
kicked us out that year. So, yeah, wouldn't go to China again for footy.
You told the
That was
China
a
story last time. Scrap that game.
ruined our whole season. Some good things.
Did you go to the China game?
Yeah, I did.
Nightmare?
I got through it. I didn't get sick or anything, but it
No,
was tough.
yeah.
It was tough.
For anyone that hasn't heard
We-
it, just do the quick version of it.
Well, he was on the flight, literally on the flight over. We all got business.
Yep.
No.
And this was Saints versus Port
Everyone
or
got
something,
business except for two guys, you and me. And then
You're joking.
Two of the emergencies gave us out their seats.
Yeah, we were playing and didn't get
What?
You do the math. But this poor guy.
Do from the start, both of you.
Halfway through the flight, I pull down the fucking
Oh,
thing.
mate.
Pull the thing across in his little bed, and he's like fetal position, sweats.
Shivering,
I'm like,
though.
what is wrong with you?
I was sick the night before we left, and I was 4 days out. Thought I'd be right to play, 100%. Like,
And this is when they
we
played.
still say he was patient zero of COVID. Like
This was the OG.
first guy.
Yeah. So this was because they played one game for the year over in China. It's like an exhibition thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And you've been on over there and you've eaten something or
no, I was sick before we left.
this was before
Night
the
we
left.
left. I hardly slept. Got
Right.
up. I was like,
And then-
I'm pretty cool. Had a coffee. Got to the airport. Had a few like
Oh,
quadrilles or something.
That's right. This is actually, we could go for a while. on
Go,
this.
tell me.
We get off the plane to go into the airport, and in China, if you've ever been there, they do like a screening thing.
They had a swine flu
They have
screening where the heat
like a
map
temperature
would come up.
radar that
Yep.
gets everyone's forehead on the way through.
Yep.
He's been like dragged,
Stealing your
into
identity as they go down as well.
Yeah, probably.
These three little Chinese
He's
guys
been dragged
grabbed me.
into a room and just taken off. And we were looking around going,
Because he's lit up.
What the fuck is going on here?
I'm screaming at the welfare manager, like, mate, help me. These I don't know what to do. In customs, I can't leave the line. Security everywhere. I get sat in this room like this, sweating, and then they're like, "You feel hot?" I'm like, "No, I didn't want to go back on the plane."
I'm good. I'm
13-hour
good. I'm
flight.
actually cold. Give me
I
a
was like,
jacket.
"No, I'm fine. I'm just like, why are you sweating so much?" Like speaking like hardly any English. I'm just like, "Hey, I'm just nervous. Like, I just need to get out of here." So we're taking your bloods. Took all these tests, and then
They took your blood test.
There's another Blake Acres running around in China.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Copy the DNA.
Hey, they did. They were in. They were worried about it. I was just trying to act like I was fine because I didn't want to go back on a plane. I would have
No, of
ended my
course.
life, I reckon.
Oh, you were close anyway.
But yeah, and then jumped out, got out there, like got my way through this airport. I don't know how, and then seeing the bus just sitting there, I was like, hopefully this is us. And then jump on, all the boys are there. So thank God. And then I wasn't allowed to leave my room for 4 days.
So you're completely
then-
isolated.
Well, no one wanted to hang with anyone because
Course,
guys
yes.
started dropping like
So
flies.
like
Yep.
5, 6, 7 boys went down. The coach went down. Like
That was
we were
all
dropping
food
like flies.
poisoning, but they all thought it was me. But I was
Right.
sick before we went.
Gotcha.
And then they literally, the VFL had played a game, I think the day before our game.
Yeah.
They flew 2 guys who played over because so many boys were sick,
Yeah.
thinking that they might need to play.
Ben Patton.
2
I
guys
reckon.
ended up, I think, just pushing through. They were violently ill and played.
Lost like 5 or 6 kilos.
Wow.
These guys had.
And we,
Everyone is just
Richo,
cool.
our
Yeah.
coach, wasn't even in the meetings.
Wow.
so we're driving the bus to go to the ground. We're driving in, I remember this, and there was a bus that went in before us, which I think was Port. And apparently a bus had gone in just before them. So they were told two teams, 2 buses, and we were the third.
So they were going, no, back
They
it
didn't
up.
let us in.
Big
Like they had
rifles.
so
To
many,
the
so
game.
the security was like through the roof because they don't have big events in China.
Yeah.
For those reasons.
Yeah.
And we had to do a full lap of the stadium.
To get in the stadium.
Then they made us get off the bus and like searched us all before
my
we could go
God.
into the. So we walked like a K into the stadium.
So we're not all just dressed the same. Like,
It's a-
you know,
it's a- it's a good tactic, maybe,
Yeah,
if you want
very.
to-
Yeah.
My story. I went. I'm feeling all right. Can I come to the game? Yeah, no worries. Get a cab.
Actually,
I had to get a cab in the middle of Shanghai.
You're joking.
With
By
my suit.
yourself.
They booked me my flights home because I was meant to stay there for the buy for 4 or 5 nights. We'll get to that. And then, so I've got in this cab, like, no idea where I'm going. Pull out. He parks about a K away from the stadium. I'm walking with these 2 big suitcases, trying to convince these guys with guns, like, they don't speak English, so I'm a player. Let me in. Let me in. I'm still like pacey white, sick as a dog still. Mate, it was one of the worst things. And then
we would talk about the game. So the 3 or 4 days, however long we were there, it was really cloudy.
Yeah.
And temperature-wise, we're like, oh, it's actually not that bad. I reckon 10 minutes into the warm-up, clouds have like fully disappeared.
Yeah.
And it was beaming hot.
Oh,
like
so
30 degrees
you're
and
already,
like
you're already
humidity's through the
feeling
roof.
steaming and
Boys didn't even
sweating
put
no matter
sunblock
what.
on because we're already out in the field.
yeah.
And I I think when Port ended up at one point, I think they kicked 17 goals straight without missing.
Oh my God.
Without kicking a point.
It was just a shit
We
time.
lost about 6 players. The injury, Skipper broke his
Yeah,
leg.
Jaron
really
Geary
bad.
snapped his leg in half. I was right
So yeah,
there.
Saints have gone, you know what, we don't care if we have fans in China or not. We're not going anymore.
Yeah, we
One
never
and done.
going back
I was the
after
one that booked the Airbnb for the buy, like to boys stay there, and they've all rocked up, and there was these like 3 Chinese blokes in the Airbnb, like sleeping in there.
What?
So the boys are calling me saying this can't be us. I'm like, mate, the code worked. Yeah.
I swear you're really bad at booking accommodations.
Mate,
I think I've heard stories of other people telling how bad you
My
are.
last
at
trip,
booking.
I had a stinker. Booked at a
Vegas this
24/7
year.
nightclub. One of them.
This is in Vegas, hey?
This is post Vegas after I didn't want to go to anywhere.
Yeah.
Like go out anymore.
Sound
Vegas,
like you.
we got Vegas got
Vegas has him
scammed.
now.
Penthouse didn't book for some reason, so I was walking around Vegas and we flew in after
Who are
20
you
hours.
with, by the way?
You
Freo-
were there.
Freo
but
there with
the
Freo
Freo
boys,
boys like Griff, Moose, Alex Pierce, sorry, Sean Darcy, Lockie Schultz. So they cracked it at me there, and then found out these guys were staying at the
So what,
Cosmopolitan.
what do you mean you got scammed? You booked it, you
I
paid
booked
for
an
it?
Airbnb, rocked up. I stayed. Me and him stayed there back in 20 when I
Was
was
it the Palms?
Palms when I was 21 and 22. Or 22, we stayed there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought book the same joint. It was sick accom, and then get there. Like, nah, nothing.
Who are
haven't
you?
Booked, and then 2 hours later, the Airbnb rings me. We're like sitting in this Panda Express having like Chinese food.
Oh my God.
So tired. Just want to get a quick nap before we
Before we go out, yeah.
go out, whatever, explore. And he's like, nah, someone broke the TV or saying we can give you the one bed penthouse. Like, I was like, mate, there's like 7 of us. Like, I
That's
need
not
more
gonna
than
work.
one bed. Like,
Yeah.
look after. He's like, no, we can't. Like, all right, no worries. So then I had to
Things seem to get broken in that room pretty regularly.
yeah,
Yep. I think that would be a thing. It's sort of
probably
expected.
got banned. I probably got the red dot on there from the last time we booked it.
They've got the Chinese tech with
Yeah.
the scanner.
Yeah, not that in.
Flashing, yeah.
Don't let this guy in.
So I had to book the Well, I found out these lads were staying at the Cosmopolitan, so I just booked 2 rooms there for the guys, and I don't think like Griff and Alex didn't even stay at the hotel ever.
Yeah.
They were just fucking going wannabouts the whole time.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was good fun.
that was good.
And
Any
then
other trips that you guys have been on together that were good?
We did we've done Europe.
Yeah, we did America twice and Europe
Yeah.
and Bali.
Bali
about
a
10
couple times.
Yeah.
So let's not talk. We'll move on from this.
They've always ended in either someone getting punched or in tears, to be honest.
All the good trips too.
No,
So
they've been fun. They've been really fun.
Punched each other a couple of times.
Yeah, we've
that
all had
happens
it.
too. Yep,
But that's what you do.
that's what you do.
Mates
That's
that.
that's
You
just
move on.
Just what happens. Hey boys, thank you so much for coming down and doing the pod. It's been great hearing all your stories, all your advice, and everything you've been working on. It's been bloody awesome. So good luck with the year. Thanks so much for coming down, and yeah, thanks heaps.
Mate, cheers.
No worries. Thank
Too
you.
good.